Hey guys, it's John Moore with the Texas College Football Show, and today we've already done the offense. Today we're going to do the All Texas College Football Team defense, first and second team. For those of you that don't know what we're doing here, go back and watch the offensive one. We're doing a preseason All Texas College Football Team, both offense and defense. And what we're doing is we're getting first and second team on offense, first and second team on defense. And what we're going to do is I'm doing MLB All-Star rules. If you don't know what MLB, I cover the Texas Rangers. If you missed the offensive one, let me explain. MLB All-Star rules in the Major League Baseball for the All-Star game played halfway through the season. Every team in Major League Baseball is required to at least have one player on the team. Well, seeing as how we have 13 FBS Division I schools in the state of Texas, and this show covers them, I've decided that whether on first or second team, every school has to at least have one player represented either on first or second team in the preseason, all FBS. Now, at the end of the season, when we do the all Texas team at the end of the season, I'm still debating. Y'all let me know if you think I should still try to keep it like MLB All-Star rules and try to do best, try to incorporate at least one player from every team. We can do that, or maybe we just go with the best players, period. Now, what does this mean when we're doing something like this? It means one thing. It means that inevitably someone will get snubbed, and some of y'all are going to say that some of these guys are overhyped or overrated. That's untrue on both sides. I'm not trying to snub anybody, but there are literally first and second teams. I've only got so many positions I can fill, and I do have to have at least one person from every school. And just because I've got a school from maybe a smaller school in the state of Texas who is not as highly, they're not in the top 25, they're not picked to do much in their conference, it does not mean that these aren't good football players. These are guys that have a chance to make all conference in their conferences. So I'm not just picking guys random. Oh, well, I got to get somebody from this school, so I'm just going to pick somebody. These are guys that have the potential to be all conference players in their conferences, whether it's the Sun Belt, Conference USA, now it's called the American Conference, used to be the American Athletic Conference, AAC. You also got the Big 12 and the SEC. But whatever conference we're going to run these out of, we wanted to make sure that these guys had a chance to be all conference. We did that on offense. Now we're going to do it on defense. Let me tell you what positions we're going to do so that you know what we're going to be doing on offense and defense, or on the defensive side of the ball. I'm sorry, we're on the defensive. So the All-Texas team defense is going to be this. We're going to have 2 defensive ends and 2 interior defensive linemen. 3 linebackers that we're going to have first and second team. So there's going to be 6 linebackers. Every position now. So if I got 2 defensive ends, there's going to be 4 total because you're going to have 2 first teamers, 2 second teamers. You got 2 interior defensive linemen. There's going to be 2 first teamers, 2 second teamers. So there's 4 of those. Linebackers, there are 6 of them because I've got 3 first team linebackers and 3 second team linebackers. Now, you could have said cornerback or safety. I went with defensive backs. Now, I've got 4 of them, and I've got them lined up here in my little thing there. You see I've got them as 2 safeties and 2 cornerbacks. It doesn't matter. Could be 4 safeties, could be 4 cornerbacks. They're defensive backs, and they've got a chance to play at the next level or make all conference. Then we're also going to have a punter, and we're going to have a utility guy, kind of that nickelback guy that does different things on the defensive side of the ball. He goes from defensive end to linebacker, that kind of a guy. That's what we're going to do on there. With that being said, we're going to start out on the defensive first team defense. First team defense, we're going to start on the defensive end category first team. We're going to go with Colin Simmons from the University of Texas, who a lot of people think this guy's going to be a potential All-American. He could be. You know, he didn't start last year. That's kind of a weird thing people don't realize about Colin Simmons. He had 11 sacks last year. As a true freshman, he appeared in all 16 games as a true freshman last year. He had 9 sacks and 14 tackles for losses. I said 11 sacks. He had 9 sacks. Coming off the edge, not even being a starter. He's going to start this year, rotating out of there. This is one of the most hyped up defensive. This guy right here, what he did last year, the big things expected from Colin Simmons. The other defensive end first team, Devin Deal. Devin Deal from TCU is a senior. He's from Naaman Forest here in Garland, Texas. I'm from the Metroplex here. He's 2024. He had 9.5 tackles for losses. He had 5.5 sacks. He played in all 13 games. And Devin Deal is our second defensive end on the first team. Now let's go to the interior line on defense. First team defensive tackle. We're going to go with Lee Hunter. Lee Hunter is a senior out of Mobile, Alabama. He is another one of the transfers. Everybody knows that Texas Tech had a huge transfer class this last year coming into the season. He was out of the University of Central Florida. He was two-time Big 12 there. He had 38 games he played in, 131 tackles, 21 and a half tackles for losses, and 5 sacks. It's a big boy. Now he's going to do that on the interior line at Texas Tech. Look, Texas Tech trying to shore up the Red Raiders shoring up that defense. In the preview, we talked about this guy. You guys go take a look at the preview for Texas Tech. But Lee Hunter's on our first team. Second defensive tackle, first team. Jackie Marshall from Baylor University. He's a redshirt senior. He's from LaPlace, Louisiana. He started 13 games last year. He had 42 tackles, 6.5 tackles for losses, and 3 sacks. He comes in as our defensive tackle, first team from Baylor University. Now we're going to go to the linebacker position. And this linebacker, first team, I don't think anybody would question this guy's first team. In fact, he may be the defensive MVP out of all of these Texas State. It's Anthony Hill Jr. from University of Texas. I am a University of Texas homer, but nobody argues that Anthony Hill Jr. is one of the premier best players in college football. He's a junior out of Denton, Texas. He started all 16 games last year. He had 107 tackles, 16 tackles for losses, 7.5 sacks, and he had an interception last year. He's expected to be an All-American. He's expected to maybe be the number 1 overall draft pick this next year. Anthony Hill Jr. is something else, and he starts off our first linebacker first team. Second linebacker first team. We're going to go to Texas Tech again. Jacob Rodriguez. Jacob Rodriguez is a senior from Wichita Falls, Texas. Started all 13 games, had 127 tackles last year. 10.5 tackles for losses and 5 sacks. This guy was the quarterback of the defense. He really showed himself last year, and they're expected to be all Big 12. I mean, this guy right here was all over the field, and with that defense shoring up on the transfer portal and what they did, it's good to have a returning starter back this year in Jacob Rodriguez, who had a good year. Last linebacker on the first team, we are going with Keaton Thomas from Baylor University. Keaton Thomas is a redshirt junior. He's out of Jacksonville, Texas. He started all 13 games. He had 114 tackles last year, 7 tackles for losses, and 2 sacks. Baylor, look, if Baylor wants to save Dave Aranda's job, they've got to make some plays on defense. They've got Sawyer Robinson on offense, and they've got a good running back and wide receivers to help them on the offensive side of the ball. Defense, and Dave Aranda's a defensive guy. He's got a good one at linebacker here at Keaton Thomas. Now let's go to our defensive back. First defensive back, first team. Michael Taft from the University of Texas. He was the walk-on originally, who's now on scholarship. He's a senior from Austin, Texas. Started all 16 games. He was second-team All-American last year. He had 78 tackles, 5.5 tackles for losses. He had a couple of interceptions. Kind of he's the old guard back there in the defensive backfield, plays safety. Did a great job for Texas last year, decided to come back. Some thought he would be a relatively high draft pick coming out of college last year, but he decided to stay back and play another year, and he is the first of the defensive backs on the first team. Next, we've got Isaiah Wacobia. That's that N is silent. We had Scott Garner on. We talked about him. Isaiah Wacobia is from SMU. He is a senior out of Dallas, Texas. He went to Skyline, Texas, which produces a lot of talent, especially back when the Duncanville coach Sampson was there at Skyline. Boy, they threw out some good players from Skyline over there. He started all 14 games. He had over 100 tackles, and he had 3 interceptions. Isaiah Wacobia will be a high draft pick, I think, next year coming out, and he's a senior this year. He'll be playing at that next level. Next defensive back on first team, we are going to go with Malik Muhammad. Malik Muhammad from Texas. He's a junior out of DeSoto, Texas. He started all 16 games at cornerback last year. He is look, his name wasn't called a lot, and that's a good thing. When you're a cornerback and your name isn't called a lot, it means that they're not throwing your way a lot. Him and Taft are going to help solidify that defensive backfield for the University of Texas. He's another returning starter on that defense that might be the best defense in the country. Third defensive back on the first team. This is the fourth defensive back on the first team. He comes out of Texas A&M, and that's Will Lee III. He's a junior out of St. Louis, Missouri. Started all 12 regular season games at cornerback. He had 10 pass breakups last year. Look, Texas A&M is trying to rebuild that defense and get it where they want it, and Will Lee being back there, Will Lee III being back there is going to help solidify that. And Texas A&M defense with a Mike Elko running and calling the plays like Drew Tamu told us, this guy's going to serve an important part. Now we're going to go to our utility player on first team. We're going with Owen Payway. Owen Payway's first team utility from the University of Texas San Antonio, played in 13 games at the money back. They call it the money back. I think that's sort of a hybrid linebacker, kind of a linebacker safety thing that he played last year. He had 42 tackles, 25 solo, and he had 6 tackles for losses. And he's out of Cypress, Texas, and he's a junior. Owen Payway. Now we're going to go to our punter, first team punter. And I think everyone thinks this guy has a chance to possibly be All-American, and he's out of the University of Houston, Liam Daugherty. Liam Daugherty is from Geelong, Victoria. He is from Australia. He is a long way from home. Last year, he played in all 12 games. He had a 4.06 average hang time on his punting, 41.9 average per punt, and he had 10 over 50 yards. Let's be honest, if Houston is to have the season they want, he shouldn't have to be on the field a lot. Hopefully you're not having to use your punter much. But what you want in your punter is somebody that can pin down the defense or pin down the offense if at all possible. Get you out of if you're in a bad position, field position, hopefully he can get you get your defense into a better field position and get you out of the hole that you're in. Liam Daugherty rounds out that first team. Now we're going to go to the second team, starting back at defensive end. Going to the second team. Defensive end, second team, David Bailey. He's our second team defensive end out of Texas Tech. He's a senior out of Irvine, California. He transferred over from Stanford, where he had 22.4 career tackles for loss and 14.5 career sacks at Stanford University. He's shoring up one side of that defensive line, and another transfer on that defense where they shored up some players in the transfer portal. Nobody is denying what they did in the transfer portal. Next, we're going to second team defensive end, the second defensive end on the second team. Isaiah Smith from SMU. He's a senior out of Washington, D.C. He appeared in all 14 games last year. He had 32 tackles, 8 tackles for losses, and 6.5 sacks from a team that made it to the CFB playoffs last year. He's back. Isaiah Smith, that's a name to watch on the defensive end coming from the edge. Now let's go to the interior of the defensive line and our 2 second teamers on the interior line. The first one is going to be Albert Regis from Texas A&M University. Is a junior from LaPorte, Texas. Started all 13 games. He had 6 pass breakups. Now, how does an interior defensive lineman have 6 pass breakups? No, he's not dropping into coverage. He's one of those guys that blocks passing lanes. When you get in there in the middle and you plug it up and you get your big hand up there, that big old mitt you get up there, and you tip those balls and break up passes. That's what Albert Regis did. And he had 6 of them last year. So that, you got to find some throwing zones with a big old hoss like this guy coming in there, like Albert Regis. He's the first of our interior linemen coming in. Second interior lineman, remember Devin Deal? How about his brother Marcus Deal? Marcus Deal's a sophomore from Naaman Forest High School in in Garland. He was actually born in El Paso. Both these guys are originally from El Paso, but they played in Garland at Naaman Forest. He started the final 7 games last year at defensive tackle. He had 21 tackles, and he had 5.5 tackles, 5.5 tackles for losses. You got 2 deals on that defense. You got one at defensive end. You got one on defensive interior. A couple of brothers. Imagine these guys growing up. Can't imagine that household now. They must have had holes in all the walls, everything else, with these 2 roughhousing around in Garland, Texas over there. Okay, let's go to linebacker. 3 linebackers are going to make up our second team. This guy's could possibly have been a first teamer. Good Lord. I like this guy a lot, but you had to move some guys around to do this. But I'm a big fan of him. I think Drew Tamu knew I was a big fan of him. It's Tarian York, the linebacker. We talked about whether or not he was going to be a high draft pick. Drew seems to think that the one thing that might hold him back from being a high draft pick coming into the NFL is his size. He's not your prototypical linebacker size. He's kind of in that hybrid between a safety linebacker. But, man, he's all over the field. He's a junior out of Temple, Texas. He started all 13 games. He had 82 tackles, 9.5 tackles for losses. If you watched A&M football last year, you heard the name York a lot. This guy was something else on that defensive side. Probably could have been a first-team utility guy at least. But you know what? We got him as a linebacker, and I'm playing him at linebacker. And he's my second-team linebacker on the All-Texas team is Tarian York. Second linebacker, Travion Barnes from Baylor University. He is a senior out of Almonte Springs, Florida. He is a Florida International University transfer. He was Conference USA Defensive Player of the Year last year. He had 129 tackles last year for Florida International University. Now, making 129 tackles, while that's fantastic, it could also be you're the only guy on defense making tackles. I got to tell you that. But, hey, let me tell you what, this guy ain't afraid to hit the people and do it, and he transferred in to Baylor. And he's going to be shoring up that linebacker position. And with what he did as a Conference USA Defensive Player of the Year, this might be an all Big 12, maybe even a second-team All-American. Who knows? Let's see what he does in the Big 12 there. Last linebacker that we're going to go with, from Sam Houston, we're going to go Jamar Diaz. Jamar Diaz is a junior from Passaic, New Jersey. He's an All-American at D2 Glenville State University. He started 11 games, had 52 tackles, 21 tackles for losses, and 12 sacks. He transferred in. He did play Division II. That's one division below where we are right now. Hey, but he was the All-American last year and started all 11 games. Good for him. And Sam Houston got a good one out of the porter to shore up their linebacker position. Now let's go to defensive back. Like I said, there's going to be 4 defensive backs, and they not necessarily a cornerback or safety or whatever, just 4 defensive back. First of the second-team defensive back, we're going to go with Xavier Smith from the University of Texas, El Paso. He's a redshirt junior out of Atlanta, Georgia. Played in all 12 games last year. He started 10. Top tackler for DBs with 78.5. He had 78. He had 5 pass breakups last year, and he is our first of the defensive backs. Next on the defensive back, another transfer for Texas Tech, Ko Wisniewski. Now listen to this guy, Ko Wisniewski from Texas Tech. He's a senior out of Sparta, Wisconsin. Went to North Dakota State, where he was an All-American last year at North Dakota State. Transferred in for Division I. Going to be playing probably safety. I think that's what we were told, that he's going to be a safety for Texas Tech. But, an All-American last year, moving in with that defense that's just changed everything. I got to tell you, I'm high on Texas Tech. A lot of these transfers are making up a lot of this on here. Now let's go to the third defensive back on the second team, David Fisher from North Texas, from the University of North Texas. He's a senior out of Houston, Texas. He was at Sam Houston for 4 seasons, started 28 games at cornerback, 67 tackles, 4 interceptions, transferred into the University of North Texas, where I think he'll play cornerback again here. So he is the third of our defensive backs. And the last one for the University of Texas, for the All-Texas College Football Team, second team, Deuce Harmon out of SMU. He is a senior out of Corinth, Texas. He went to Denton Guyer. He's actually made his way through A&M before he got to SMU. He started 9 games. He had 31 tackles last year, 2 tackles for losses, and 1 interception last year. So Deuce Harmon for that, there was only 2 schools in the state of Texas that made the college football playoffs last year, Texas and SMU. He was a starter on one of them last year. Deuce Harmon from SMU. Now we're going to go to our utility player on the defensive side of the ball. And our utility player is Ty Morris from Rice. A lot of talk about this guy. He's a junior out of Houston, Texas. He went to Decaney High School. He was a second-team All-ACC last year with 56 tackles. He had 4 sacks. He's back. Hey, you know what? This isn't just a good linebacker for Rice. This is a smart guy. Think about it. Rice is like an Ivy school. And they don't take it lightly at Rice. You still have to make your grades, and you have to be smart to go to Rice. This guy was a second-team All-ACC. AAC. Now it's going to be called AC, American Conference. But Ty Morris is our utility guy on the defensive side of the ball. And then we're going to go to our punter. Punter for them is going to be Alex Bachetta from Rice University. Rice shows up twice on this list. Rice, he's from Atlanta, Georgia. Last year had 10 punts of over 50-plus yards, averaged 41.5, and his longest was 59 yards for Rice last year. And he anchors the punting position again. And, this is kind of a cheap shot, and I hate to even say it's a cheap shot and do it. But let's be honest, punter's probably pretty important for Rice University. Now, they've got Scott Abel, who's taken over this offense. He kind of runs that option veer offense that he's going to be running this year that he brought in from Davidson, which is Division II, hoping to shore up and get that offense going, kind of like a Navy or Army runs, and really get some yards going and do that. Hopefully that keeps Alex off the field as much as possible, but this guy apparently has got a leg on him. That's for sure. Well, guys, that is going to be our defense right there. I appreciate everybody hanging around. If you haven't seen the one for offense, go catch that one. But it's been fun doing this. The next show that we're going to do is going to be our first countdown of the week, as we have our top 13 that I will break down from 13 down to 1. And I think it's kind of simple who the number 1 team is, probably because they're ranked number 1 in the country. But there are 13 schools. We'll rank them from 13 to 1. That'll shift every week, guys. And I'll lay out kind of how I come up with my strategy for how I do it. Thanks for being a part of this one, guys. Until our first week, next week, and you see our first countdown, guys, until then, see you on the gridiron.